Welcome to the Poisoner's Cabinet. I'm Sinead.
And I'm Nick.
And this is your weekly podcast exploring the lives of the great poisoners and macabre murders from across the centuries and creating curious cocktails inspired by the tales that we tell. And it's episode 130.
It's very exciting.
Very exciting.
Very exciting.
130 episodes.
I know.
Do you ever think we'd have come this far, Nick?
I was amazed when we got to 30.
Yeah.
Or 3, in fact. So,
Like we survived.
yeah, considering this was some ill-conceived pub ramblings that led to this.
As the best ideas
Well,
are.
this is very true.
I don't know if you do this, and as in, I know you don't do this, when we have these conversations going, did you ever imagine you'd come this far? Like, no. I have definitely, in my head, pictured myself giving a speech like a TED Talk or being interviewed by Oprah and saying, it was just this idea we had in the pub, and I'm just really humbled about where we are now.
I can well imagine you doing that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, 4 in the
Practicing
morning.
in front of the mirror.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, thank you so much, guys. You know, you're shouting out our catchphrases, yeah. This one's for you.
When the film of our lives comes out.
Yes, obviously, there's going to be a film. I feel like it's going to be more of that sort of Lifetime movie true crime thing on Hallmark or something.
Nice.
The podcasters who ended up beating each other to death.
Possible. But it's not ruled out.
Hey, how are you, Nick?
I'm fine.
You're fine.
I have some fizz.
Yay, we have pre-cocktail fizz.
Yeah, absolutely. Nightmare day at work. So I was walking home and Sinead had somehow let herself into my house and was twiddling with things.
Pumpkins.
Leaving fucking pumpkins on my pillow. Weird.
And different places as
And
well.
yeah, and other places. I saw one on the stairs.
You see that
So I
one?
saw that one. I dread to think where else they are. And then they come in threes.
I did come over earlier for technical reasons.
To hide pumpkins.
To hide, mainly that.
Yeah, anyway, so I was walking home going, oh, crappy day. So I thought, I know, I'm going to go to the shop and I'll buy myself a big bottle of fizz and a very large Toblerone.
There's Toblerone?
There's Toblerone. It's
You
in my
didn't
bag. 'cause it's
bloody
fucking
show
mine.
me the Toblerone,
No,
did you?
I shouldn't have said anything about Toblerone because it's now no longer a secret.
You enjoy that.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm crying on the stairs. Bottle of fizz and my Toblerone.
And a pumpkin falls on your head.
Pumpkin falls on my head. Oh, it's going to be great.
Or maybe just run yourself a bath, mate. Treat
Possibly,
yourself.
Yeah. I must be eating it. That's like from the stick and just going,
Just biting chunks off.
Biting chunks off.
Yeah.
Fizz straight from the bottle.
That sounds brilliant.
It's going to get classy here.
Marvellous. Any poisonings this week?
No. Don't think so.
No.
No.
You seem like you're on the verge of committing one.
Potentially. But no, I think everyone is safe for the time being.
Okay, good. Well, speaking of not poisoning anyone, we can't stress that enough, and eating Toblerone like it's a lollipop in the bath, I think it is time for us to thank our delicious Patreon subscribers.
Yes, indeed. Well, how do you eat your Toblerones? That is the big question for everyone today. So thank you very much to Danny Seisel
To Amy Jones.
and to Anna Wolver Phillips. Thank you for your Toblerone-based goodness.
Thank you. You are so beautiful and so sexy, and we love you. Ooh, we are having fun over on Patreon this month, people. We did a little promo that some of you may have heard where we like to just tease what's happening over on Patreon. But because it's October, it's spooky month galore over there. New content out there. And also, we're exploring haunted venues. It feels like
Haunted
the theme.
venues.
Yes. Well, we've done haunted castles.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that. I mean, haunted venue seems like a bit of a shit theme, really.
No, but depending on the venue. No, we haven't just called it haunted venues.
Yeah, I mean, haunted venues is not a great title for like a collection of things, is it? Like haunted castles, ooh, haunted ghost ships, ooh, haunted venues.
Spooky roller disco.
Yeah, this is the list from the council type thing. So,
Spooky ships. We have been dealing with spooky ships this week. That was a great episode.
yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yes, what other venues? What other haunted venues should we be exploring?
Stop saying haunted fucking venues. It's really annoying.
All right, spooky places.
Spooky places. That's fine. Spooky places. Like it. Haunted venues.
Right.
Sounds so very bureaucratic. I don't like it.
There needs to be a tiny bit of bureaucracy in the haunting of the places.
Not here, there doesn't.
Well, Nick, are you ready
Dunno.
to drink cocktails and talk about poison?
Depends how many lists you've got going on.
Well, actually, point of order here.
Point of order.
We could also, a motion has been raised for us to drink some poison and talk about cocktails, but I think we need to put it to a vote to the committee.
Of course.
No authority here, Jackie.
It's a very niche reference.
But those who get it are just swilling their brandy going, oh, yes, very witty, very witty.
Yes, anyway, let's do what the one is that involves drinking the things.
Let's go with the first one. It's Nick's story this week. Hooray, hooray, hooray. But we can't possibly have a story without a cocktail in hand. As you know, dear listeners, every week we choose a secret ingredient that is inspired by the tale that we tell, and it will flavour our cocktail of the week. So Nick's story this week, and the secret ingredient, Nick, is
torso.
a torso.
Torso. A chesticle area.
Oh, chesticle area.
Yes.
I thought you said testicle area.
No, don't have your testicles on your torso.
That's why I asked. A torso.
Yes,
a torso. Now, you know what? Let's peek behind the curtain of the Poisonous Cabinet for a moment. It is a magical, wonderful place, and sometimes our stories just furnish us with all manner of ingredients. You had a hell of a time on this one.
This was not fun. This was really not fun. I was hours and hours scouring the internet and this story for any bloody ingredient.
And I'm sure it's a great story. You just like losing your mind over
really
text. Good. With torso as your ingredient, what have you come up with?
Well, I've gone for a Nick's special. Couldn't find anything, so I've made some shit up. Yay! Basically.
Nick's special. I worry for our souls.
As you should, because we are having an anatomist.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah, see, I made that up. I was quite pleased with that.
That
I
is
googled
very
it. There
good.
are no cocktails called that, so like trademark, copyright, or whatever.
Patent pending.
Patent.
Yes, and again, another peek behind the curtain as well. Now, I don't know what's in the cocktail. This is completely blind, but he was thinking, I will come up with an original name. And I was just shouting terrible suggestions.
You were not helpful. You came up with the names of dreadful songs.
Dreadful songs to you. You hate them.
Just dreadful songs.
I suggested Let the Bodies Hit the Floor.
Dreadful song. I'd never heard of it. Then Sinead put it on. I was like, no, none of that in this house.
Then I put on Megan Stallion's Bodies. Body, yaddy, 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 yaddy. And I've never seen Nick look more furious.
Disgraceful. Utterly disgraceful.
But an anatomist, that's much more us. I think it is high time for us to sidle into the Poisonous Cabinet kitchen and shake up a storm, so we'll see you in a minute.
We'll see you in a bit.
And we're back.
Hello.
So, Nick, an
Anatomist.
is in the building. Now, it looks an interesting colour.
It's intriguing.
Which makes me frightened. It's sort of a yellowy-ish.
I would go yellow.
No, I think it's got a hint of green to it.
Oh, okay. Yes, okay, I'll give you that.
And usually when there's yellow and green involved, I get very frightened that one thing is in it.
It's a large glass of yellow chartreuse.
And you would be happy.
I would be delighted with
and
that.
I'd have to drink it. I'm going to have a sniff of it.
Yes,
Let's
give
see.
it a...
Ooh, it's a pleasant smell.
Don't sound so surprised.
Let's dive in.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Ooh. Ooh, Nick.
That's intriguing.
That's okay. That's good. I like it. You only
Okay.
want positive feedback, is
Pretty
that
much,
it?
yeah, absolutely.
That's got a really nice floral kick to it. What I'll say is it doesn't have a lot of aftertaste.
I think there's one thing in there that I put in there as a bit of a Hail Mary, and I think it could be more.
Oh. By the way, good footballing reference there.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
It's a sports.
It's a sports. I did sports. Yay me. Yay for sports.
I like this. This is nice.
Oh, thank God I actually wrote the recipe down that I made up.
No, there's nothing offensive in there. That's it's got some citrus. It's got some flavour.
Got a flavour.
Yeah, talk us through it, Nick.
Okay, well, give me a guess. Give me a guess of something.
Oh, Jesus
There's
Christ.
one thing in there that we have never had before.
What?
It's
Oh.
a new thing that I bought especially for one of your ingredients the other week, and then you went, no, I don't want to do that anymore.
Oh, is that what you've elbowed in there?
Yeah, I thought
Right.
I've got a bottle. I spent 40 quid on a bottle, so I might as well use it.
Oh, God, I don't know actually what it was you bought. All I got was the vitriol across WhatsApp when I said I changed the ingredient.
Pretty much.
Well, I don't know what that is.
You don't know what that is.
I'm going to guess, based on your love for it, I'm going to go Strager.
There is some Strager in there.
Because it's quite yellow.
Yeah. See, I was going to go with the yellow chartreuse, and I thought, oh no, there's Strager in the cupboard. Let's use that.
Massive success last week. Strager is now our favourite thing.
Yeah.
Some lime?
There's some lime.
Lime? Good.
So
Strager
you
and
can
lime.
there, absolutely.
I'm learning.
You're learning.
Strager, lime.
And
The other
other
stuff,
stuff.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the other stuff is.
So we have yet to come across like the base spirit of this.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
She's got something.
Is the ancho chili stuff in there?
Nicely done.
Aye!
Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at me.
That was my bit of, that was my like, this might work.
It's not spicy.
Yeah, I think they could probably go up. I only put a tiny amount in there. Could probably go up a little bit.
I'd say knock it up a notch because I'm not getting the spicy heat,
Yeah.
but that lovely vegetable-y kind of flavour to it, which is really nice. That's it. Hey,
Yeah.
look at me.
I mean, 3 for 3 at the moment.
3 for 3, and I'm going to quit while I'm ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so there's some agave in there. So
Okay.
adds a bit of sweetness generally to it.
Sweet,
But
sweet.
the main spirit we have, and I'm going to pronounce this horribly and someone will correct me, is cajaca, Brazilian
Yes!
spirit.
From Caipirinhas.
Yeah, the most famously using caipirinhas. Cajaca, I think that I don't know.
I'll freely admit I have no
Yeah,
idea how to
so
pronounce
I
it.
don't know, but that's what's in it. Yeah, I had to buy some the other week for when Sinead went off on a tangent, and then we didn't use it. But it's one of the things I've always wanted to have in the cupboard. So basically, it is a Brazilian rum, pretty much. It's based on a cane sugar, the national drink of Brazil. Bit of that in there as well, and
Oh,
I think I'm very pleased with that.
that is nice. I'm going to find out how we say it.
You go for it. Absolutely.
Based on the internet.
The internet never lies.
Now, the internet does lie because I'm going to. It's some sort of automated thing that's probably going to have a heart attack. So,
Okay.
So how do you pronounce this? Cachaça.
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 Okay, that was a very long-winded way of finding out how to pronounce it.
But now we know, and
There we
I
go.
will easily forget. Anyway, it's that, and it's really nice.
So you're going to have the recipe out on Friday of how to recreate a Nick special
Yes,
of
The
your own.
Anatomist, absolutely. On Friday, to give it a go.
The Anatomist. Lovely, delicious. I am pleased with that. Well, with our Nick special firmly in hand. Is it time for a story?
It certainly is. So, story time. Some people have guessed what our story is about this week, and some people who have read the title will probably know what it's about already.
Some people just listen to this on loop, and then they're as in the dark as I am right now.
Yep, so we are going to have the story of the Cleveland Torso murders. One of the most famous unsolved cases in American history.
And oft requested.
And oft requested indeed. So this is a series of very gruesome crimes committed by an unknown figure.
Until tonight.
Until he's here tonight. But he has become known as the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run.
Oh, I didn't know he had another name.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about this story. It's just been mentioned to us many times going, can you cover it? Can you cover it? And now we're doing it.
Now we're doing it. I thought, okay, why not? Before I get too in-depth in this, I have to say a big thank you to the Cleveland Police Museum, who have a fantastically written article about this, and I've done a lot of information from there. Because it's very, very good and very informative, so well done you. And I think actually they have a huge exhibition about this, because it is one of the most famous things to come out of Cleveland, I think. So, it is 1935.
Okay.
And things are starting to look up for Cleveland. They've been through a hell of a time. The whole world has, really, with the Great Depression. But it is showing signs of coming to an end. And in Cleveland, particularly, the local steel industry is really starting to pick up pace. And people are flooding into the city, really, to find work in the new factories that are springing up all over the place.
Factories.
Indeed, now industrialists are rebuilding their fortunes, usually off the backs of thousands of hard-working labourers who are getting paid pennies or cents. But these people, they will work all the hours that God provides just to provide for their families. It's better than the alternative of homelessness and death, probably. That got very dark very quickly.
Very quickly.
Yeah, I didn't even write that down. I just made those as ad-lib. Death. They either work or they die.
That's quite the proposition to say to the family. I'm going to the factory. Hopefully you won't die if I go to work for the day.
You're going to work, you're fine. If you don't go to work, then you're dead.
You're dead. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's it. You're
That's-
taken outside and shot.
That's how these things work. It's a scary place. Now, the city is keen to capitalise on this flourishing economy and show off, really, to the rest of the country how things were supposed to be done. This is how you do it. This is how you get things going again. And there are numerous conferences and conventions that are set to take place in the city over the coming years. And the authorities feel that they really need to tart the place up a bit. If they're having all these visitors from outside coming to look at how marvellous they are, they need to make things look smart. They can't sort of have rows upon rows and districts of homeless people, slums and all this sort of stuff. No, it's got to look sparkly clean.
Yes, spray some perfume on them, put some bows and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Also, can I commend commend you on the phrase "tot the place up
Tot
a
the
bit,"
place up a bit.
which does imply they're just going to powder and rouge all the buildings. Gussy yourself up,
exactly,
love.
gussy it up a bit. Because, I mean, during the Depression, many of the less well-off neighbourhoods had pretty much descended into little more than slums and shanty towns, really. And the city is keen to clear away all these like eyesore neighbourhoods and make room for all the new incoming workers who are going to live in fancy places and have good lives, and it's all marvellously sparkly. Now, as these neighbourhoods are bulldozed, the entire population of the homeless and unemployed who live there are compressed into smaller and smaller areas. And one of these districts is known as Kingsbury Run.
Aye.
Now, the Run and one of the neighbouring districts, known as the Roaring Third, which sounds like a great place to be, really, becomes a hotbed of crime. There are so many people crammed into such a small area. There are gambling dens and brothels and cheap bars after Prohibition, and a huge transient population as well. There are railroads running through. People hop on and hop off, and it's a hugely transient population.
It does sound like the place to be. I would definitely be
It
visiting
sounds like
there.
a fun place for a bit, but you don't want to live there.
No, you don't want to live there.
So it was in these dark and grimy streets that the Mad Butcher stalked his victims.
Why? Why in the slums?
Yeah, but people care about the rich.
Yeah, they have security.
The rich get killed. People are going to go, oh look, they killed a rich person. Some homeless, unknown person. Shit happens.
It's depressing
It is
enough in
no,
the slums.
no, absolutely.
Well, I say it's depressing enough. They have gambling and they have hookers and they have cheap drinks. Actually,
They have all these. They have all the fun things in life, but also it's September 1935. Two teenage boys discover the decapitated and emasculated corpse of a white male at the base of Jackass Hill, which is a good name for a hill.
Yeah. And what?
And also a grim discovery. The body is naked except for a pair of socks.
Socks?
Yeah, apparently so.
So
And
full body, no head,
no head,
no
genitals, pair of socks.
pair of socks.
Yeah,
It's-
but the body is relatively clean and
Yeah.
completely drained of blood.
Ooh.
And has rope burns around both wrists. Now, I mean, due to the lack of blood and the relative cleanliness of the body, the police assume that the murder has taken place elsewhere, and this is just a dumping site for the body. Otherwise, there'll be gallons of blood all over the place and nastiness.
That was in the police report. There'd be gallons of blood and nastiness.
And nastiness.
Nastiness was afoot.
Exactly. My police reports would be excellent.
We'd all read them.
People in 100 years' time going, what the fuck's this going on?
And someone would be going, to be fair, I completely understand what he means.
It was pretty nasty.
God,
Yeah.
so someone has been, someone's been like held prisoner or captive somewhere and then
Looks
moved.
like that. The police search the area and they discover a second body.
What the fuck?
Again, decapitated with his genitals removed. The second victim appears to be around 40 years old, and parts of the body seem to have been treated with some sort of chemical that has made the skin red and slightly leathery. So there's been a reaction to whatever has been applied. The coroner determines that in both cases, the cause of death had been decapitation. The men had been alive as their heads had been removed. Now, one would hope they would have been unconscious at this point. It doesn't specify as to the method of removal, so we don't know if it was like a swordsman's axe one or it was someone with a penknife.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't know that, unfortunately. It's not specified. But I'm praying that they were unconscious by this point. Head off. Bleed out type thing.
Either way.
Either way, it's horrid.
It's something you don't really think about, the cause of death being decapitation, unless you are back in the days of Anne Boleyn or the days of guillotine and everything. But yeah, that's quite traumatizing to dwell on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's move on.
Yeah, indeed. So they're using fingerprints. They are able to identify the first victim. And now he is a chap called Edward Andrassy. Now, he is a 20-year-old white guy who is quite well known to the police. He has been frequently picked up in the past for drunken disorderly conduct in the Roaring Third. One officer recalls that he once had to knock him down for his attitude. Good old-fashioned policing there.
Okay.
Yeah. The second body, that of the older man, has never been identified. But the red leathery skin reminds police of a previous case. A year earlier, and the remains of a woman in her mid-30s have been found washed up on the shores of Lake Erie. The woman's head is missing, and her legs have been cut off below the knees. The curious thing, though, is that the woman's body has shown the same red leathery reaction to some sort of chemical as this later discovery. Her head was never found, and she had become known as the Lady of the Lake.
Ah, very nice.
Police were trying to work out if these murders were somehow connected, and it wasn't actually till a few years later that they were officially the Lady of the Lake case. And these other decapitations were officially linked together. So at the time, it was a bit... Some people thought it was, some people thought it wasn't. Later, they become definitely, the same person. January 1936, a woman discovered parts of a woman's body neatly wrapped in newspaper and packed in 2 baskets and left alongside the Hart Manufacturing Building in Cleveland. So just like on the pavement, on the sidewalk, just 2 baskets full of human bits.
Human bits. Here we are.
Which is always lovely to see.
Also, the Hart Manufacturing business. Are they making hearts?
They are making hearts. Yes.
Ah, good.
This is why all the people go in there, had their hearts removed. And so...
If I only had a heart.
Now, the rest of the remains of this woman, except the head, of course, were found later on some nearby wasteland, 10 days later. As with the 2 men who had been found a few months earlier, the cause of death was decapitation. In this case, though, it seemed like the killer had waited for rigor mortis to set in before chopping the rest of the body up.
Oh my God, where are the heads? Where are the
Where
heads?
are the heads? The Cleveland police were able to use the fingerprints to identify this woman as Florence Pollio, a barmaid and sex worker who at the time of her death lived right on the edge of the Roaring Third in Kingsbury Run. Again, at the time, police were in 2 minds whether to include her with the butcher's victims or not. This was before the Lady of the Lake case had been definitively linked.
Yeah.
So in police minds at the time, this was the first woman who had been murdered by the butcher.
Right.
And she had been wrapped up quite carefully and put in these baskets. That didn't happen with the chaps. They were just like dumped out on the street.
Yeah.
So there was a very different method of disposal, and in the way the body was treated was very, very different. So there were questions about, is this the same person? Is this a bit of a copycat? Are they completely unrelated?
It's equally horrifying.
Equally
horrifying. Nope, it's definitely not this one. It's another psychopath who's out there
Well,
chopping bits up of people.
I mean, in the end, they do decide that a city can only have 1 decapitating serial killer at a time. So she is eventually listed as the 3rd victim.
If it was another person, that person standing around going, excuse
That
me.
was me. That was mine.
I did that. Did you not notice the care and time I put into that?
Exactly. In June 1936, early one morning in Kingsbury Run, 2 young boys discover the head of a white male wrapped in a pair of trousers close to the East 55th Bridge.
But they found a head.
They found a head. They found a head this time. The next day, Cleveland police find the body of a man in his 20s dumped in front of the Nickel Plate Railroad Police Building. So right in front of a police station, the body is just dumped out there, headless body. The body is clean and drained of blood. The corpse entirely intact, apart from the missing head.
Good Lord.
The coroner again determines that the death has been caused by decapitation. The coroner was able to take fingerprints, but no match is found. The man also has a series of very distinctive tattoos.
Yeah.
On him, and the police think that, well, someone is going to recognise. We've got his head, maybe detached from his body. We've got the head. We've got this man with all these tattoos. Someone is going to know who this chap is. They take a plaster cast of the decapitated head and make a death mask of the unknown man. And they take this likeness and drawings of the tattoos and they display them at the Great Lakes Exposition in 1936. Pretty much like one of the things you walk through these grand entrances is like the death mask and pictures of these tattoos. Do you recognise this man?
Yeah, that's an awful thing if someone's just turned up for a holiday, just walking through and just, oh, this person's dead.
This person's dead. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And also if the tattoos were saucy.
I don't know what the tattoos were, unfortunately.
Yeah, the tattoos, they may have been really artistic and incredible. What if the tattoos were just porn?
Porn, yeah. Now, more than 100,000 people sort of file past this mask and these tattoos. Not a single person comes forward to say, I know who that person is. Out of 100,000 people, no one has any idea who this chap is.
Is he transient then? Is that,
well,
yeah.
absolutely. May well be just on the railroad through from somewhere else and no one has a clue who this guy is. The original death mask, along with a number of others from this case that were made to try and identify people, are still on display at the Cleveland Police Museum.
Really?
Yep, you can go and see these death masks. In July, a teenage girl comes across the decapitated remains of a 40-year-old white male while walking through some woods. The victim seems to have been dead for about 2 months, and his head, as well as a pile of bloody clothing, are found not too far away.
I'm also picturing this little girl who is skipping through the woods in
Yeah.
a red hood, just
Absolutely.
off to see grandma. I'm like, oh shit!
Oh, shit. Yeah. Well, she's just been eaten by a wolf or something, so she's fine.
She's running away from a wolf and going, wow, shit has gone down.
It's really going south here.
So that's mad. So, but we've got the heads now appearing.
The heads are now appearing. I mean, separate and sort of some distance apart, but sort of still connectable with the bodies. Now, judging by the enormous quantities of blood this time that have seeped into the ground, this man has been killed here.
On the
and
spot.
he has been decapitated on the spot and just left there. He's not been then moved and dumped somewhere else. So police think, well, was the killer disturbed?
Yeah.
Because normally he would kill them somewhere remote and out of the way and then take them and dump them in town somewhere.
Display them in town.
And display them. In this occasion, was he disturbed and just had to leave in Scarpa? Who can say? The body is never identified.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just jumping in with theories right now.
Go for
it. So are the woods his stomping ground? Is that where he kills people? Did they do more investigation to go, okay, the body's been left there. If he was disturbed, then maybe there's more evidence in the woods.
Certainly not that it becomes clear this is the only wood-based
Oh, for God's
discovery
sake.
that I have read about.
Why wasn't I there at the time? Investigate the woods, because if he is taking
There
people
could have been
there.
big bloody patches out elsewhere in the woods, but yeah, as far as we know, nothing was ever discovered that there could have been other killing sites. Then we move to September 1936, where a man is trying to hop onto a train that's going through Kingsbury Run, and as he does so, he trips over the upper half of a man's torso,
Jesus.
just trying to jump onto this passing train.
Ugh.
And so like, well, that's not a good way to...
That's not a good way to fall down.
No, indeed.
Turn around and go,
Oh, look, there's a dead person.
all of my nightmares.
Yeah, there's half a dead person, in fact, on there. So, Cleveland police search nearby and they discover a pool, an abandoned pool, where they find the lower half of the torso. So the torso in this time is actually in 2 pieces. So it's not just a torso,
Oh.
it's a torso in bits. So that's
So without limbs, then?
no, a torso in half.
Oh,
so
just a body
half a
cut in half.
torso.
Oh,
yeah.
right. Oh, Jesus.
So so we've got top half of a torso and bottom half of a torso, now entirely separated.
When you say a pool, do you mean a pond or an actual swimming
No,
pool?
I believe an actual pool, swimming pool, like an abandoned outdoor sort of swimming pool.
I'm not surprised it was abandoned.
Probably abandoned prior to the body dumping bits, thinking.
No one reported it. They turned up with their towels and, nope.
Nope, I don't think so. But no one said anything. For months they've been floating there, no one said anything.
Oh, that's horrible.
Now while police wait for divers to arrive to go and retrieve these bits and pieces that are floating in the bottom of this pool, people know something's going on. And a crowd starts to gather. Probably the people who know that these dead bits are in the pool and who haven't gone there. In the end, there's about 600 people craning to try and get a look at this spectacle and find out what's going on there, who's been murdered horribly. The victim turns out to be in his late 20s, and the cause of death, yet again, decapitation. The coroner specifically notes on this occasion that there is a distinct lack of any sort of hesitation marks in the dismemberment of the body. The killer is getting more and more confident in his methods, and his skills are improving, it would seem. Wow. Now, there is mounting media pressure really on the authorities. The odd murder here and there, shit happens, sort of thing. It's especially these types of people, they say, transient people, homeless people. Oh, they get in fights, stuff happens. But this is 6 brutal killings, all in a very short space of time. People will go, no.
Yeah.
This is it doesn't matter who these people are. This is not acceptable.
Even two, you would turn around and say, this is something we need to be worried about. If it gets to 6, the police are doing shit all.
Yeah.
Right there. They're going, you know what? It's just a phase. It's just a phase
just a
that
phase.
the slums are going through. It's in fashion right
It's
now.
all entirely unrelated. They're not connected at all. It's fine. It's all
No.
good.
La 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 la. Fingers in the ears.
Pretty much.
Yes. Decapitation's completely normal.
Yeah.
Completely normal.
It happens. Accidents.
That's what poor people do.
Now, 2 detectives, a Peter Merlio and a Martin Zalewski, are assigned to the case full-time. This is their only priority. Their sole responsibility is to find out what the fuck's going on. Now, these 2 detectives personally interview over 1,500 people, and they find not a single witness or suspect.
What?
in that pool. In total, it's estimated that the Cleveland Police Department questioned over 5,000 people.
That's a stupid amount.
In relation to this case, and all to no avail. They are none the wiser about what's going on. It probably doesn't help that when people do come forward with information or something they've seen, they get arrested for...
What?
Well, they get arrested for some other sort of misdemeanor crime or something. They're on the books for soliciting or drunken disorderly or something like that, and they've come into the police station to say, I saw someone get murdered. Oh, we've got you now. We're going to put you in the jail for this other really minor crime. So this sort of generally puts people off coming forward. I'm not going to fucking talk to you.
Oh my God.
You've asked for information about all these people who are getting horribly murdered, and I come in and you arrest me for being drunk.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Oh, this is... I mean, I know we joked about it earlier on, but this is bureaucracy through the goddamn roof. This is a police department. You know, no shade on the police department. It's probably great now. But back then, that is, okay, anyone who comes in, well, let's just kill two birds with one stone. Let's arrest you. And we're going to interview 5,000 people by going, did you do it? Did you do it? Move on. Did you do it?
Yeah.
Yes, and that you can write that down in your report. We've interviewed this many people. You have not done your job well.
No.
Because there's still a massive bloody torso murderer out there cutting heads off people, and you took 6 people to decide that this was a problem?
Yeah. It's not good.
These crimes are happening in the slums, and no one cares about poor people, and no one cares about ethnic minorities, no one cares about anyone who is not in that kind of society, so it's just like, we'll let a few of them slide. If a rich person had a paper cut, then probably would have gone down.
Yeah, absolutely. The entire police force were out in force hunting that perpetrator down.
But who, Nick, who will quell this?
Who will come and sort this all out? The chap who's going to sort this all out is the city's recently appointed safety director.
Okay.
He gets personally involved in the case. The safety director... Yep, is none other than the untouchable Elliot Ness. Who had become famous, as you well know, a few years earlier as one of the men who had put Al Capone away.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
No, suddenly it just like clicked because someone wrote that on Instagram. Like, oh, that is a shit title.
So he's taken the job as safety director.
Safety director. That is awful as a title. I am the director of safety
it's all,
in this city.
I mean, he is by this point in his career, he's done the Al Capone thing. He's got huge national acclaim for that. Now he sits behind a desk and pushes paper around. But now the mayor is keen to use his fame to say, right, we've got the most famous cop in the entire country on the case. Elliot Ness is going to solve this out. It'll all be done by the weekend. Everything will be fine.
Oh, did the mayor please let there have been a scene where the mayor walks into the office at Elliot Ness. He's only got one lamp on. Elliot Ness is drinking a whiskey. And the mayor's going, Elliot, we've got one more case for you. I'm done, Mr. Mayor. I'm done with all of that. I just want to write reports.
Yeah.
I don't know what accent Elliot Ness had.
Probably an American one.
I think it's this weird transatlantic one that I'm doing right now. I'm done. You're done. I'm done with all of this, Mr. Mayor. I just want to sit at a desk. And I don't want to solve any crimes.
I'm sure that's exactly how it went down.
Exactly. I'm from the South now, apparently. No, Mr. Ness, you must come forward.
I mean, I don't need to read the rest, really. You've got it down.
Okay, so Elliot Ness.
We then move to February 1937. And a man finds the upper half of a woman's torso washed up on the shores of the river. Now, unlike all the previous victims, the cause of death here had not been decapitation. Her head had been removed later, after she was already dead.
Okay.
So there's a bit of a change there. The lower half of the torso does wash up 3 months later. The woman is never identified.
Oh, God.
Again, people think, is this the same person? But half a torso's in half. It's a bit of a giveaway. So I think, probably is. Probably is this person. Elliot not doing much good here at the time. And then we go to June 1937. A teenage boy discovers a human skull under a bridge. Always fun thing to find when you're under a bridge.
That's great, actually, if you're a kid. That's your childhood mate.
Yeah. Well, next to this skull is a burlap bag that contains the skeletal remains of what turns out to be a woman in her 40s. Dental work eventually allows this skeleton to be somewhat unofficially identified as a woman, Rose Wallace. Now, again, this is put forward as one of the victims of the Mad Butcher, But if the body was already skeletonized at this point in a bag, that must have happened quite some time
Yeah.
prior. So were they just going, oh, it's a random death. Oh, he did it.
Yeah, this is what happens when you've got a serial
exactly.
killer on
So
the loose. It's like
I'm-
everything is shoved under.
Yeah, I'm less convinced that the murder of Rose Wallace is actually the Mad Butcher, and there's perhaps some unrelated, equally horrible
murder.
crime. July 1937, only a month later, a young guardsman is standing watch by the West 3rd Street Bridge, and he sees the first piece of a victim floating down the river in the wake of a passing tugboat. Over the next 2 days, police recovered the entire body in many, many bits. Except the head, of course. Except the head. Now, on this time, there is a massive escalation in violence. The abdomen has been gutted. The heart has been ripped out. The victim was in his mid to late 30s, and again, never identified. No idea who this poor chap was. The killings continue into 1938. In April, a young labourer on his way to work sees what at first he thinks is a dead fish along the riverside. He thinks it's a fish that's washed up, it's dead. Goes to him for a bit of a closer look. No, it's a woman's leg.
Right, okay,
It's a leg.
good. Because if it was a torso, I'd question if this man has
No,
ever seen a fish.
This is a leg, potentially fish looking like, I don't know.
No, you don't understand that.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, been in the river a long time, bit nibbled. So, yeah.
Fish aren't nibbled.
I think fish nibble dead things.
It doesn't mean that it looks like a fish.
No, but he thought the fish was dead. So then a dead fish will be nibbled by other fish. There's a lot of nibbling going on.
You've gone down a weird route.
Yeah.
No, you don't see something nibbled and going, that's a fish. You just think, like, because the appendage looks fish-like.
Fine. Whatever. You and your fish nibbly ways.
You've just gone like, the fish nibbled itself to death.
Shut up! A month later, police pull 2 burlap bags out of the same river containing both parts of a torso and most of the rest of the missing legs.
Oy. Most of them. Have
Most,
they been
yeah,
nibbled?
they've been nibbled. See, there's not all of them there. People think, they must have been nibbled. That is in the official coroner's report
Nibbly
of
death.
the nibbling. Fish nibbling.
This is awful, but still, that's funny.
For the first time, apart from the nibbling, the coroner detects drugs in the system.
No,
in the
ooh.
body.
Okay.
But they are unable to really ascertain whether they have been taken recreationally. Was this woman, someone who lived in the slums and was maybe an addict, or had they been administered to sedate and immobilize her so the killer could have his wicked way? We don't. They weren't able to clarify.
A scenario where they'd gotten together, maybe something had happened recreationally, or the person had been drugged.
Yeah, they did
entirely
not know,
against
but
their
the
will.
first time they found drugs in the remains. August 1938, 3 scrap collectors foraging on a vacant lot find the torso of a woman wrapped in a double-breasted blue blazer.
Ooh.
And then that is wrapped in an old quilt, so quite well wrapped. The legs and arms are discovered in a box that has been wrapped with brown paper and held together with rubber bands, almost like a gift type thing. It's wrapped up. The head has been similarly wrapped and is nearby. But this time it's noted that it looks like the body parts have been refrigerated. They've got signs of the chill about them, that they have been whatever you get in cells that when you cells freeze.
Yeah.
So I think something weird going on
So
there.
the killer may have kept the body.
Kept the body for a
the deep
longer period of
freeze.
time. Now, while the police are searching this vacant lot and the surrounding areas, they discover the remains of a second body only yards away.
What?
These 2 bodies have been left within plain view of Elliot Ness's office window.
Because also, what has Elliot Ness been doing right now? Lot of paperwork.
A lot of paperwork going on. A lot of paperwork. Killer has dumped 2 dismembered bodies pretty much in his garden.
Oh, good lord.
Sort of thing. In direct view of his window.
I mean, that is ballsy.
That is massively ballsy. Massive taunt to this man, this Uber cop who was supposed to catch him. And like all the other victims, these victims, 11 and 12, are never identified.
Good lord.
Who they are. Now, Elliot, he doesn't really take kindly to this very personal insult, as he sees it. These things being left on his doorstep. He's not at all happy by this. And he decides, at long last, to take decisive action.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what it took.
That's what it took. Absolutely. This is what it takes.
It's all about you, Elliot, isn't it?
all about him and his reputation. By this point, I don't think he was an overly nice man. He was a bit of an alcoholic, had many, many affairs, and was, not quite the hero that he was portrayed as.
My understanding is Elliot Ness is not quite the angel or the knight in shining armor that people paint him to be. I don't know a huge amount of the background of Al Capone's story. I'm not going to base it on the Untouchables either. People weigh in on this, but I'm thinking Elliot Ness is not necessarily a great guy.
Yeah, he's not the knight in shining armor that he is perhaps portrayed, especially in the media at the time. He is the one who's supposed to be coming to sort all this shit out. It's not working. Takes umbrage at these bodies on his doorstep. So at 12:40 in the morning on the 18th of August, Ness leads a group of 35 police officers and detectives into the shanty town of Kingsbury Run. Right. He's got 11 squad cars, 2 police vans, 3 fire trucks behind him.
Okay.
And they all descend into the neighbourhood.
What?
They work until the sun comes up, and he arrests a group of 63 men and searches the area for any clues that they think can help identify the killer. Now, not content with the arrest of 63 men, seemingly at random, on the orders of Elliot Ness, the whole area is put to the torch and burnt to the ground.
What?
Yep.
What?
This massive shanty town full of tents and shacks and things that people have scraped together to build some sort of a shelter. Burn the lot.
So the people who have been victims of this killer, let's just burn the shit out of all this?
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
We're going to arrest 63 of them because they're probably the ones who have done this, and then we're going to burn the crap out of everything else. So now the inhabitants of Kingsbury Run are truly homeless. They've not even got a tent or a cardboard box over their head.
Famously, lots of, homeless surgeons around there. Yeah.
Now, in the following days, Ness is crucified in the press for his actions. What he has done is beyond cruel, the people describe him as. And he is, the mayor is livid at what he has done. All the men who have been arrested during this raid on Kingsbury Run are eventually released. There is no evidence against any of them, and no evidence is found for anyone. But the murders stop. The murders do stop.
Okay.
No victims of the Mad Butcher are found again.
Interesting.
Now, only one man was ever arrested as a relatively serious suspect in the Cleveland torso murders. But his arrest was beset with controversy, really. In July 1939, 52-year-old bricklayer Frank Dolezal was arrested for the murder of Florence Pollio. It turned out that Frank had lived with her for a while. An investigation revealed he had been acquainted with Edward Andrassy, one of the other victims.
Yeah.
So he's got connections with multiple victims. We think he's the man. Under questioning from the Cleveland police, Frank confesses to Florence's murder.
Okay.
The confession, in squiggly commas, is not ideal.
Right.
It turns out to be a rather nonsensical blend of incoherent ramblings and very neat and precise details.
Right.
Almost as if he's been told what to say.
Oh, Jesus.
Really. Before he can go to trial, Frank recants his confession.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nothing to do with me. Before he can go to trial, he is found dead in his cell.
No.
Now, the 5'8" Frank has hanged himself on a hook only 5'7" from the ground.
Oh, that's deeply unsettling.
Yeah. An autopsy reveals 6 broken ribs, all of which had been obtained while in the police custody.
Oh, God.
Oh,
that's dark.
Yeah. Frank has absolutely nothing to do with these crimes, but they are so desperate for a scapegoat, for a public win, that they leap on this confession that has been coerced out of this poor man.
Ugh.
And then when he decides that, no, it wasn't me, I didn't do it, that's bollocks.
And they're going to go to and he's going to go to court and he's going to talk about it and he's going to reveal what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Suddenly he's dead.
Suddenly this man
this is
dead.
Messed up.
There is a theory that Elliot Ness had interrogated the actual killer in 1938. Now, that man was Francis Sweeney. He was a World War I veteran and a doctor who was in the right place at the right time to commit the murders, had the skills to carry out the very precise dismemberments, One homeless man, a chap called Emil Fronek, even claimed that an unnamed doctor in Cleveland tried to drug him back in 1934. This is the same time as the Lady of the Lake killings.
Okay.
Tried to drug him and bundle him away. Ness took Sweeney to a local hotel for an interview. Why he wouldn't take him to the police station, I don't know. Took him to a hotel for an interview. Though reportedly it took several days for the alcoholic doctor to sober up enough.
So they just went to a hotel, had a few whiskeys for a while.
Yeah. So I'm assuming whether he was absolutely plastered when they picked him up.
Several days?
Apparently
What the hell
it took
was he
him
drinking?
several days to sober up so that he could then take a lie detector test.
Oh, come on.
Which he failed twice.
Come on.
This lie detector test. So yeah. The doctor later committed himself to a mental institution. You see, the doctor knew he was not well. And this was around the times the killing stopped. But there was no physical evidence whatsoever. A case against him would be sure to fail in court. So Francis Sweeney was never arrested or connected with the case.
Yeah,
He in
fair
fact
enough.
died. He in fact was diagnosed with schizophrenia in 1956, and then died in hospital in 1964. And if he were the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury 1, we will never know.
Yes.
There we go. A terrifyingly horrible story.
Ho, ho, ho! The Cleveland Torso Murders, the Mad Butcher of Kingsbury Run. That's a good story.
That's a good story.
You see, I knew of it superficially. Oh, that's made me very angry.
Yeah.
That's made me very angry.
There are bits in there like, oh, come on, you fuckers.
Yes,
Get on with this.
One of the occasions where we can say the police, the greatest poison of
Yeah.
them all.
It was not their finest hour, absolutely.
No, and it's got so many shades of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Let's say maybe he was Jack the Ripper, just continuing his work across the Atlantic, and many people would have it that he did.
Very possibly. Yeah.
But yeah, the shades of Jack the Ripper, Aberline. Detective Aberline was involved in many other famous cases later. But yeah, Elliot Ness getting involved and interviewing people, but in this case, so ineffectual. Like who
Completely
cares?
ineffectual, absolutely.
Who cares that Elliot Ness was involved? Because he did shit all. He did
Fuck all apart from
nothing.
burn people's houses to the ground.
I know. It's and that's the horrible thing, that he probably would have walked away, Elliot Ness being the man he was, going, oh well, it worked.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
didn't it work?
Yeah, the killer stopped.
Exactly. You met force with force. I was brutal and I arrested loads of people and we burnt it to the ground, and somehow the killer has been scared by me. Did the killer accidentally die in one of the fires?
Well, as far as we know, there's no reports of anyone actually dying in the blazes.
Okay.
The populace had been cleared out during these raids. The men had been arrested. Everyone else had been cleared out. So yeah, no one died as a result of the fires. Because a lot of people were left very homeless.
Was it just coincidence?
Absolutely.
Who's to say that this person wasn't living outside of the slums? Because you need anatomical knowledge. You need. You probably are a surgeon to be able to do all of this stuff.
This is someone who seems to be attempting to clear up the city, sort of getting rid of the people they consider as the sort of the riff-raff sort of thing. Who's getting rid of those sorts of people. So it's unlikely to be one of those sorts of people. Someone from that same community. It's meant to be someone who looks down on people like that.
Exactly. If you're going to be, in this case, you've got someone who is killing people in the slums and they are displaying their bodies. They're purposefully leaving them in areas where they can be found. Now, some of them, yes, they're in the river. They were dredged up later on, thrown away. Maybe they're not related. But you've got several cases here where it's like, no, here's the body.
Yeah.
Here's the body wrapped up for you. The heads. Where did the heads go?
Where
Where are the heads?
A lot of the heads not discovered. Absolutely. But it seems that strange that if someone was sort of keeping the heads as some sort of trophy, then you would do that. Would you not do that with all of them? It seems a bit. Some of them they were. Some of them were left behind. All decapitated. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We love some decapitation. But yeah, some of them kept. Some of them
Yeah.
or just disposed, and we never found. They were never found. It could well be that they were chucked out somewhere. An animal had a way with them or something, and
I think
they were never discovered.
It's a sort of a combination of the two, really. That it's quite possible that the heads were disposed and they were never discovered, because it doesn't seem like there were thorough searches going on. Yeah, and we go, why wouldn't you keep all the heads? There's a lot of serial killers out there who do change their MO, who keep a bunch of heads. We know them; they're very famous. And then they go, no, you know what? I'm getting rid of the whole body. I'm bored of heads now. Serial killers are flighty of nothing else.
That's true.
act on their desires and their whims. Oh, but to have so many murders and no information. No information whatsoever.
Nothing whatsoever.
And we've got serial killers older than this, where people were able to track them down and pinpoint them. And there's just this time period. Say with all the Axeman murderers, it's the same kind of time period.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe resources are deployed elsewhere because of the war.
Resources are depleted. So say depression. The war is coming up, so the war is not quite there. But yeah, and again, they're very transient populations. They're people who don't register and won't be missed, really. Because they are jumping on the rails and they're here, there and everywhere.
And then you just got torsos around.
And you've got torsos lying around, but you have no idea who they are because they've been in your city one day before they become a torso. So
there was a period of time very close to our lifetime where it's just, there's torsos around. You know what? We can't handle this right now. Oh, the Cleveland torso murders. It's an unsolved one this week.
Yep.
But perhaps you guys have theories. So what do you think, people? What do you think of the Cleveland torso murders? The mystery that surrounds it. Do you know the story? Do you have theories? Do you have thoughts about who could have been responsible? Do you have thoughts about the society at the time? Do you have thoughts about what could have happened? Do you have thoughts on Elliot Ness? Weigh in with this. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Elliot Ness, involved in some famous cases, but not maybe the best person in the world. Jump on the comments of wherever you listen to this podcast. Tell us your thoughts and your theories. Send us suggestions of more stories. But most importantly, you simply must mix up an anatomist.
It was damn tasty. They've gone down really well.
It was
you
great.
You knocked yours back.
Absolutely. It's gone.
So, yeah.
It's good, but you know your shit, Nick.
So, yeah, no, I was pleased with that. So, yeah, I think that might become a regular. I can see myself making that one again.
I see ourselves making it again in 5 minutes.
Very soon.
A great Nick special. So the recipe will be out on Friday.
That it shall.
Mix one up. Tag us in any photos of any cocktails you are enjoying this weekend and anything you're enjoying during spooky season, because we love to see it. If you haven't already, please think about joining us on Patreon, because there's lots more content going out in October on the channel for you to enjoy. And please leave us a review on Apple iTunes if you haven't already, because it really, really helps our podcast. Thanks for listening, guys. We have been the people inside the Poisoner's Cabinet. We will see you next week. And remember, your loved ones are trying to kill you.
Bye-bye.